Hello everyone, my name is Naresh and today we will do MagnatesMedia's Volkswagen video editing breakdown. In this part we will create this magnificent intro.
Deception, slavery, and unimaginable cruelty. There are many companies with dark origin stories.
And in the subsequent part next week you are going to create this.
Because of the war, the Volkswagen factory had to be entirely repurposed to aid in Germany's war effort. It was really a weapons factory disguised as a car factory, because the Nazis didn't tell the German public that they would have to wait, and instead, all of the money they paid for their cars was used by the Nazis to fund the war. Hitler had initially planned the Volkswagen factory to build the people's car, which fit 2 adults and 3 children, but now, the factory was making military vehicles that needed to fit, in Hitler's words, 3 men and a machine gun. As the war intensified, most German men were employed by the Nazis either as soldiers, military officers.
Alright, so I am in my After Effects and let's import all the assets needed to create this animation. Few of them I have downloaded and a few I have created using AI and some retouched in Photoshop. You can download them and the project file as well from the link in the description, absolutely free. So select them, drop them here. Now I am using this free script which is super useful to organize your assets into various folders. This is also available in the asset folder. Run it and boom. Let us create a folder pre-comp and main. And in main, let us create a new composition. Let's call it master. 9020 by 1080, 24 fps and 10 seconds would be enough. Let's create another composition, scene 1, and move it to the pre-comp folder. Now let's drag and drop this Beerman PNG to scene 1. I have generated it using AI. Let's add smoke video file. Press S for the scale and increase the size. You can reduce the opacity or change the blending mode to soft light so that you can just see the kind of edginess. Alright, now you can add another video file that is an ink spread file. You will use it for Trackmatte. So let's bring it over here. Press S on the keyboard and scale it down. Okay, so this much is enough. It starts spreading from here. So just drag it and move it forward. Okay, now add this cloud PNG file here. You can flip it and transform the image by right click. Go to transform and flip horizontal and then vertical like this. So the shadow will not be a problem here. Or you can use the image without drop shadow. Let us scale it up and move upward like this. Increase the size of the character also. Now let's add the logo file on the top of the everything and scale it up by pressing S on the keyboard. Now you can, for the time being, hide these 2 layers so that it is easy to work with the logo. Increase the size a little bit. Okay, now unhide the layers and select the Trackmatte to the ink file MP4. Make sure it is Luma matte and it is inverted. If this option is not visible, then click F4 key to toggle the switch mode, or you can do it from here also. Then you can set it over the logo, however you like. Just like this. Scale slightly and adjust if the edges are visible. You can also adjust the starting point by moving the ink video file on the timeline like this. Even you can rotate if you wish to adjust the cloud layer by pressing R on the keyboard for the rotation. Let us see the preview. Perfect. Later on we will add some extra sauce. Press the F2 key to unselect the layers and use the U key to stack them. Alright, now you can directly add a camera and zoom it, or you can pre-compose it and do the same. So select all the layers, right click and pre-compose them, rename it if you want. Convert it to 3D from here, right click and add 50mm camera and click OK. Change it to 2 views from here. While working with a 3D scene, it is important to switch to 2 views. You can click and select the views window, and then from here you can change the top, right or left view, however you like. It will show the relative positions of layers in the 3D scene So you can drag and move the layers by grabbing them by their X, Y or Z axis and see how it will appear in the active camera view on this side. Similarly, you can also move the camera. Alright, so select the pre-comp and grab the Z axis and move it over here. Increase the size. Select the camera and press P for the position. Add keyframe by clicking the stopwatch icon. Keep your playhead at the beginning of the timeline. Move playhead to 2 seconds or so and zoom it using this last Z value. You can also adjust the Y axis like this. Select both the keyframes and press F9 for ease. Click on this graph icon to open the graph editor. Select the handle and move it to make the graph look like this. Make sure you are editing the speed graph from here. Let me zoom it a little more. Alright. Change back to one view and your first scene is almost ready. Now create a new composition with name scene 2. 9020 by 1080, 24 fps and 10 seconds. Click OK. In this scene, you are going to create this. So open the images folder and bring all the images needed. Add this mountain image and scale it. Add black and white effect. To search and add an effect, what I just used is called FX Console by Video Copilot and it is completely free. Select this image with a huge crowd and add. I have already demonstrated how to create images like this using AI and Photoshop. Add smoke video file. Use F4 or toggle switches mode to access mode. Change the blending mode to overlay. Increase the scale by pressing the S key on the keyboard. Let's bring the logo file. Convert all the layers to 3D. Change to 2 views. Select the bottom layer and put it far back in the scene. Here, by grabbing it using the Z axis. Also scale it up. Now also put this crowd layer before the mountain layer and scale it up. Then you have this logo. Move it over here. Now grab the X axis and rotate it forward like this and increase the scale. Move it backward and upward using Z and Y axis. Increase the size of this crowd image and its Y position. Now select this image and use this pen tool and create a mask like this. Around here, halfway, draw a mask. Then open the mask and increase the mask feather. You can play with the value around 100 or so till it merges with the logo. If the edge straight line is visible, then you can use mask expansion to decrease it so it has a minus value. You can select the mask and increase or decrease it. Now you can increase the size of the logo just like this. Also bring it down using the Y axis. Adjust other layers if they are visible at the edges. Now let's add that ink video file here below the logo. Convert it to 3D. Switch to 2 views and move ink file close to the logo layer. Select logo and change Trackmatte to Luma inverted. Select and drag ink file to forward like this. You can reduce the size of the ink layer and adjust it over the logo layer. Adjust the mask size again like this. Adjust the feather amount and mask size till you get a satisfactory blending with the logo. Now it's up to you if you want to add some texture or overlay on it and play with its blending mode and see how it looks. I'm adding this texture overlay that I have modified in Photoshop, converting to 3D and placing it close to the logo layer using 2 views. Change the blending mode to darken. So I have opened this texture in Photoshop and then removed area that not needed and use cloning tool to do some cloning of few dots and then finally exported this file as a PNG. You can reduce the opacity of the smoke layer, then add a black and white effect to mountain and the crowd layers. but not on the logo layer. Now let's add a 50 mm camera. Select camera, press P for the position and add initial keyframe and add second at 2.12 or so by zooming it using ZX value. Select both the keyframe, press F9 for easy ease and go to graph editor and make changes like this. So the second scene is also almost ready. Let's create another comp in the pre-comp folder. Let's call it scene 3. Let us start by importing some dark background texture. Adjust its size, press R for the rotation and adjust it like this. Convert it to 3D, switch to two views and drag it to the back. Adjust the scale and position. Then import this fog video file and add it over here. Convert it to 3D, move it backward, import logo PNG, scale it up, convert it to 3D and adjust its position backward. Add ink spread file and convert it to 3D, move slightly backward, shift it below logo layer. Change the Trackmatte to inverted luma and adjust like you did before. Select ink layer and fast forward it. Also adjust the size and position in relation to the logo. Increase the scale of the logo file just like this. Now add a black and white effect to the logo. Alright, now let us add images of the hands in this scene. So first this hand 1, convert it to 3D and adjust its size and position. Even you can rotate it using Y rotation axis. Scale and adjust the position. Alright, then add hand 2 and adjust its size, position, etc. after converting it to 3D. You can also select, right click and transform and flip it horizontally if you like. Let us now add this last image, convert it to 3D and move it slightly backward compared to the previous two. Adjust its size and position. Now there was also a red ink overlay in this scene. How to do that? Okay, let's add this ink spread file here. Right click and transform it just like you did before. Flip vertical and horizontal. Right click and add new solid. Change color to dark red. Click OK. Select both the layers and pre-compose it. Rename it as a red or whatever you like. Open it and select red solid. Change Trackmatte to ink layer. Luma matte inverted. So you have now red ink spread overlay ready. Back to scene 3 and you can move it here so it won't start at the beginning. You can decrease the opacity or change the blending mode to add or screen. Convert it to 3D and move it forward. Okay, now let's add the camera 50 mm. Press P for the position and add initial keyframe. Move to 3 seconds and zoom using the Z value. Back to initial keyframe and zoom out. Adjust the other layers. Select both the keyframes and press F9 for ease and edit the speed graph like this. So all the 3 scenes are complete and now you can add text to it. So select the text tool from here and write the text. Give the font whichever you like. Convert layer to 3D, adjust its position with the logo and change to 2 view and bring it forward using Z axis. Decrease the size if needed and adjust the position. Alright, so somewhere around here you can animate the text. Select and expand the text. Click on animate. Click blur. Go to text animator 1. Click add property. Select scale and opacity both. Change the blur amount to 100. Opacity to 0. Scale to 150. Select range selector. Add keyframe to offset. Change the value to -100. Move 12 frames or 1 second and change the value to 100. Go to advanced, select shape to ramp up, ease low to 50% and switch on random order. And now you have this nice text animation. Select both the keyframes and press F9 for ease, and you can change the graph editor. I'm using this flow plugin, but you can do it manually as well. Increase the distance between the keyframes to slow it down and the point at which it should appear, like this. Now let's adjust camera option. Open the camera and the camera options. Add keyframes to focus distance and aperture. So this is focus distance. When it is aligned to the layer, it will be clearly visible. So initially you can place it on the logo. So this is our logo, and by changing the value of focus distance, you can see it clearly or blurry. Change iris to hexagon. If you increase the aperture, it will blur the background. And at the second keyframe of your animation, you can bring focus to text layer, just like this. Select the keyframes and press F9. So first focus is on the logo and it ends with the text. Similarly, you can also add text to this scene following the previous step. You can just copy and paste the text and change the text matter and color. Also change the focus and aperture for the logo and text. Change the depth of the text layer using Z-axis. You can change the size, color, font and all. Change the iris to hexagon. For the first scene, it is a simple text. Also add the drop shadow and have this setting. Now you have all the three scenes ready, so you can now work on the smooth transition between these scenes. Let us do that. Go to Master Comp and bring all three scenes here. Place them 2 seconds apart like this. In this first scene at this point here, zoom in stops. So what you can do around here at this point, open scene 1 and select camera and open camera position and add a new null object. Parent camera with null object. Press P for the position, convert it to 3D and add first keyframe at this point. Go to master and move your playhead here. Again scene 1 and zoom in. Select keyframes and press F9 to ease. Also change the speed graph so you have this zoom transition. You can spread out the keyframes for smooth transition. Repeat the same between scene 2 and 3. So you have this continuous zoom transition look, kind of a match cut. Another one is a camera shake between the transition that you might have seen in MagnatesMedia videos. Let's create that. Right click and add a new adjustment layer, rename it as camera shake, add transform effect and slider control. Use command or control plus D to duplicate it. So you have two sliders. Now hold Alt or Option key and click the stopwatch icon of the position. It will open the expression window. Right wiggle expression. Pick this whip and attach to the first slider. Add comma and again pick whip and attach it to the second slide. So we have now two slider control that will control the wiggle expression. So basically these two wiggle values will be controlled by the sliders. Okay, now here 12 frames from the transition point. Add first keyframe to the slider. Come to transition point. Change the value to 3 and 10. Again 12 frames and make the values to 0. Alright, but because of the transform effect, edges are visible here. What you can do, at the transition point, add keyframes to scale and change it to 1 not 2. Press U to reveal the keyframes. Make again 100 with the other 2 frames. Select all the keyframes and press F9 to ease and change the graph edit. So it is having this kind of camera shake effect. Now you don't need this much layer, so you can trim it using the shortcut option or alt plus this bracket key. Duplicate it using command or control plus D and place it between the second and third scene. This is the final result. You can also turn on motion blur effect before rendering. You can add a new adjustment layer, rename it as Gaussian blur, and add a Gaussian blur effect. Increase the blur amount, select the ellipse tool, double click it and invert it. Then go to mask and increase the mask feather however you like. Okay, then duplicate the Gaussian blur, rename it as vignette, delete the Gaussian blur effect and add a new effect, the vignette effect, and adjust the amount. It looks great. You can add a colorama effect on the new adjustment layer if you want. Then play with the output cycle presets to give it a different look. Try to play with the transparency and see if it matches the story. You can keep it or delete it. One last thing you can do is add this 8 mm film roll and this other light overlay on top of everything. Pre-compose it and rename it as transition. Open it, change the blending mode to multiply for the upper layer and add for the second. Trim the second layer as per your choice as it has multiple transitions. Adjust the size and position and change the blending mode to add or screen. Trim it here and duplicate and place it above the second and third scene as well. So
Deception,
we'll have this final result.
slavery, cruelty,